With Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, speaking of the ultra-wealthy, Mackenzie Bezos received a $37 billion divorce settlement from her ex-husband, Jeff. You might be familiar, Amazon founder. Mm-hmm. But she is giving away nearly half of it. The world's third richest woman announced Tuesday morning that she has signed the Giving Pledge, which we've talked about before. She will donate $17 billion of her fortune to charity. The pledge has been made by the wealthiest Americans, Warren Buffett, Bill and Melinda Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Michael Bloomberg, Elon Musk. They've all agreed to donate a large portion of their wealth to philanthropic causes. Jeff has not signed the pledge. Bill and Melinda Gates.
Christ. Could you imagine you're a rich guy and you see Warren Buffett like coming up the driveway, you know, like, oh shit, he's going to put the claw on me.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not home.
Close the curtains.
I see a black kid selling candles coming up my walk. I do a shoulder roll and fucking slam the door in the bed. I hide under the bed.
Start breaking all the light bulbs.
Like $28 in candles. No way, dude. He's going to sign me up to a subscription to Ebony or something that I don't want, or the Reader's Digest. But he's going to explain
Ebony.
that. Well, he's going to tell. He's going to tell me about school and about how they're saving for college. I see that kid running, I hide.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett's coming up the driveway.
He's coming for your legacy.
All he wants is half of your net worth.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So Buffett has already pledged $45 billion. Bill and Melinda
Newman
have given
cars
$46 billion.
don't you drive, Corolla? Oh, I drive. Well, which ones haven't you driven in a while?
You can only drive one car at a time.
We need some wells in Africa.
Look at the magnet. I'm a piano tuner. I'm a humble piano tuner.
Yeah, so, all right, you guys tell me, like, if I ever get successful enough for Warren to put the claw on me for half the thing, here's going to be my deal. And I think in general, the public will appreciate this. Like, as a guy who's just hanging out.
Let's see.
They do that move and they go, oh, we're going to use some of the money to dig wells in Africa for fresh water, and then some's going to be for grain, and then some are going to be to educate schoolgirls in Somalia, and then others are going to be for hospital treatment centers and parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan and everything else. I'd go, listen, I'll give you $15 billion. I want a fucking monorail. From L.A. to New York.
That's fair.
And that shit, look, I'll pay for all of it. I'll pay for the goddamn monorail, but that thing's going to be a fucking bullet monorail. It's going to have my fucking name on the side of it in rainbow tape, and that's where it's going, and that's what it's going to be.
Ooh.
And if you want to do like a channel under the San Francisco Bay so we don't have to do the Golden Gate Bridge,
that's up to you.
How about those stairs in Malibu? Make those things made of pewter, diamond encrusted, like whatever. I'll do a luxury liner that just so inner city kids can cruise.
That's good.
Something,
That's really
but it ain't going to be a little bit over here, and a sack of grain over there, and a mosquito net over here.
You have a project
I
that
want
close to your
goddamn
heart.
thing. You pick a fucking project, I'll buy it.
Yep.
I'll do the whole project, but I want that project.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And also, like in sports, they do like incentive-based contracts. You know, like you get a certain number of yards, you get a certain bonus. Like you get this thing done in 18 months, you get, there's an extra $1 billion there for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I want something. Hey, you guys surprise me. We'll figure it out. Maybe it's a desalination plant or something that can just turns seawater into drinkable water off the coast of the whatever islands or whatever. Something, but it's just one thing with my goddamn name on it, and that's what it'll be. Because I don't, all the part where it's like, we got some sacks of grain over here and we built a school over there. I never feel like I see any return on that.
No,
it always just feels like another decade goes by and someone goes, we need more wells. We need more grain.
Yeah. And this is kind of the perfect crime because they're not asking for it now. Spend away. Have a great life. But when you're dead, we'll take what's left.
Whatever's left.
Yeah.
And, or something I've been wanting for a long time, the ultimate lie detector. A lie detector that's the entire world. Yeah. All the best scientists of the world spent unlimited budget. We make it like the Manhattan Project. And then all the fakakta, Jesse Smollett and OJ or whatever cases, whatever's going on, don't care. Sit them down. Boom. Next. Here we go.
Yeah.
We'll work it right on out.
That's great.
Okay.
Sci-fi.
Thank you.
Also, I couldn't think of the word, but I think it just popped into my head. You know what they should do with the Point Doom stairs? Funicular.
A funicular. You know what a funicular is?
Is that a spiral?
No.
That's the one on the
Angel
rails.
Flight downtown.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'll funiculize that bitch when I put my Bezos-esque money in there.
Yeah.
Like the things you see advertised on midday TV, just lift the old person up the stairs.
Exactly, but fancy.
Yeah, it's like a trolley car that stays level while it goes up a steep grade.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah.
Like the old person, like in Gremlins.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how much of this is. Look, if you get $38 billion in a divorce settlement, does half of that just go to the government? I mean,
question.
how much of this is like a tax related whatever?
That's a good Garrigus question.
Yeah.
It's not income. It's not income. So.
Gifts are treated differently.
The government will find a way to get a good chunk, I'm sure.
Well, look, capital gains is 30%.
Right.
So if I buy this warehouse 20 years ago and then sell it for 5 times as much, I got to pay whatever that was in capital gains.
Oh.
That's 30%.
Damn.
So if someone just drops off $1 billion from a divorce or from when the company sells or you cash out or whatever, that's all capital gains. So again, you buy a house and you buy a house for $500,000 and then you sell it for $1 million, you got to pay 30% of the $500,000, which drives me nuts because it's like, government, where were you during this whole process of fixing up the house and scraping together the down payment?
Right.
So what people end up doing, and this goes right along with all the stuff we're always talking about with the tax system essentially gets you to cheat. It compels you to cheat. So you go, I have a house. The house I bought it for $500. When I sell it, I'll make $500, but I have to take $150 of that and give it to the government. Right. And you go, I don't want to do that. And someone goes, okay, but if you take that profit and you put it right into another house or rental property, then
you skip the
you won't get busted for it, and then you do that, and then you take a loan out for that, so you get your cash back.
Ooh,
that's what everyone does. You have to do that because the government is greedy. I was just watching the John DeLorean doc, and it's like
there's some Scots from Google.
Back to the Future.
Yeah. DeLorean's a very interesting character. And
Hasn't there been a movie made about that?
Baldwin played. There's been many discussions.
Oh, has there?
Many discussions.
Oh, discussions.
They've never done it. They've never done it. But DeLorean got busted a few times, and he got busted in ways that are like everyone sort of claims to be holier than thou, but really think about what you would do. In this situation, because I think we look at people that cheat on their taxes or do this, we go, that's a bad person. Right. I wouldn't have done that. You got to pay your fair share. Yeah, that's fine when you barely pay anything. But when we're talking about your money and a lot of it, you're not as noble. Mm-hmm. You had 2 situations. One is the DeLorean car company was basically, he built it in Ireland. It's a long story. He built a factory there, blah, blah, blah. He was running out of money and he needed cash. And at a certain point, somebody contacted him and went like, hey, man, I know a couple of heavy hitters from Panama or whatever, and they can get you $15 million.
One's Roberto Duran, the heaviest hitter.
Yeah, hands of stone. They said, all right, so you're in this position where you have a company, you have a factory, you have hundreds of employees, and it's going to come to a stop, and everyone's going to have to go home, and you're going to have to shutter the place unless you can get $15 million, pronto.
Let's get it.
And somebody calls you and goes, I can get you 10 or 15 fast. Just meet with this guy. You got to put up 1.8. He goes out, gets a bunch of cocaine, brings it back, whatever. Right. You get 15. Nothing leads to you, and you keep your factory, and he takes that meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's also at a time when you're not selling crack to the inner city. Cocaine was like the party drug for all the rich people.
Yeah, it's Miami, it's party.
At that point, you want to keep your factory open, and this is going to happen with or without you.
Right,
So,
yeah.
and then we go, oh, that guy was a drug dealer. It's like, he was trying to keep his factory open. He did not get busted for that. I mean, the government basically got cited for entrapment, essentially, on that, because they essentially entrapped him. But there was another case, and then his second downfall was, but again, who amongst us? He had a deal to build this factory in Belfast, I think it was, and the government. The English government was going to put up like $17 million to build this factory. And at a certain point, just through how it worked, he realized, I've raised $17 million of capital from private companies for my car company. I've raised $17 million, and then it's like all of a sudden England goes, oh, we'll pay the 17 and build the factory. And so his $17 million that he had raised to build the factory was kind of like it's now burning a hole in his pocket because
pure profit.
Right. So I don't know what percentage of Americans would give it back to the investors versus going, I got the money and they're going to build the factory, and the people that gave me the money, all they want is a factory.
Everybody wins.
So he basically whacked it up with Graham Chapman, whoever ran Lotus or whatever, and then died and blah, blah. Colin Chapman. Anyway, so it's an interesting story. We're going to talk about it on CarCast, but I don't know, when is that thing coming out? It's got Alec Baldwin, a bunch of people in it that, Baldwin plays DeLorean, but it's still a doc. He just reenacts and comes in and out and plays DeLorean off camera or sort of backstage as well. Conceptually, an interesting way to make a doc.
June 14th.
It's also an interesting thing now that all bets are off. There's no more fourth walls or anything like that.
Wow.
It's just Baldwin. Like sometimes Baldwin's talking as Baldwin, like sitting in a makeup chair. Other times he's reenacting DeLorean as DeLorean. Like it's a very interesting. There are no more rules. Let's just make something interesting, and it works. But anyway, DeLorean was a big wig at GM. He's like a big wig, wonderkin. This guy's going to run GM. He's going to run the biggest corporation in the world in the late 60s, early 70s. And he just basically went, I'm going to go marry a supermodel and go build my own car. Wow. And that's hence the DeLorean. Yeah. All right, Gina, what else?
Well, violent riots at 4 different prisons in Brazil over the weekend have left about 60 inmates dead, and I think that number is climbing. Prison officials in the country's northern state of Amazonas say 40 inmates were found dead on Monday at 3 different prisons. A day earlier, 15 inmates were killed in riots at a separate prison. Now, they're saying this was not a rebellion. This was the result of some infighting between prisoners and gang members. Most of the dead inmates were killed by strangulation or were stabbed with toothbrushes.
Can I say this? Probably not the bristly side.
Yeah.
Side with that little weird rubber pick in it.
Yeah.
That no one ever used ever.
Shave it down.
Brazil's
anymore.
got a lot of range, right? Like they got a 200-foot Jesus presiding over the place. They got a lot of ass shaking.
They got Carnival, right?
Yeah. Like a lot of that.
Coffee.
And then there's a lot of killing people with our hands.
Yeah.
It's just a weird.
Sao Paulo.
Seems like a lot of range.
Yeah, they got it all. They're huge.
I'd like to meet somewhere in the middle with Brazil. As I always say,
they got a whole butt lift.
Yeah, they got a Brazilian butt lift.
And a
they
blowout.
got a wax. They got jujitsu. They got a lot. They got a lot of range. What's going on in that hemisphere? And then also, I'm picturing it, but as I've always said, anytime you're in a country and you're in a prison in that country, and the prison bars are made of concrete rebar. They're made of the actual rebar because they don't have actual prison bars. They just have building materials that they weld into a grid.
Yeah.
It's a sign.
Not a good sign.
For your country in
It
general.
means the meals aren't going to be great.
Yeah. By the way, Brazil, in a way, responsible for my favorite Frank Sinatra song. You know, the coffee song.
Oh, yeah.
They got an awful lot of coffee in Brazil. You got it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
There's a whole...
Not to my standards.
How dare you? It's Frankie. So the prison riots are not unusual in Brazil. They're often started by rival gang members. Brazilian prison riots are also extremely violent. 2 years ago, 120 inmates died in a riot.
Well,
some were decapitated.
Aren't they?
Jesus.
Yeah.
They're kind of one of those places that's like, well, the more prisoners that are killed by prisoners, the less cots and hots and shit on the shingle. Like, aren't they kind of like...
Much like...
Let it happen.
Let's thin the herd a little bit. Like, I feel like they stand back a lot.
Like rotting staircases in Malibu. I think it's kind of an unintended consequence that they're okay with.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of unintended consequences, Lamar Odom dropped a bit of a bombshell while promoting his new book on The View Tuesday when he made very, very surprising claims against Dennis Hoff, the former late owner of the famous brothel in Nevada.
Let the man rest.
No, he will not.
Take his squeaky clean reputation and drag the guy who ran the whorehouses through the dirt.
That great American?
That's right.
Well, Odom says his legal team already has proof to back up the claim he makes. I'm just going to let you hear what he told the panel.
You OD'd pretty much and almost left the planet.
Yeah, I think Dennis Hoff, I don't know what he had against me, but I didn't do drugs that night, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I don't know if he tried to poison me or... Dennis Hoff, the owner of the brothel.
That's how he gets rich.
Yeah, I don't know what he had against me or...
Or the wrong...
Nah.
Did he poison?
He tried to kill me.
That's what
Yeah.
Because you write in the book. Can you prove it?
Yeah, I can't, but my lawyer has workers at the brothel that said that. He tried. He almost succeeded, though.
We weren't able to verify it at ABC News, but in your book, you say you don't remember taking drugs or anything.
I didn't. I've been at odds with my daughter about this. She's like, leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? But I would like to clear my name.
Yeah. Because, when you're going whoring for multiple days, you want a clear head and a crisp speaking voice. Christ.
Yeah. And I wonder how that works with slander. He's dead. So can you just say whatever you want?
The estate of Dennis Hoff, is it going after him?
Air Force Amy has a bone to pick with him.
Also, just from a pure business model standpoint, it doesn't do your business any good to drug notable people.
That's a potential repeat customer.
Trying to kill the guy, the baller, who's
staying for the weekend.
Staying for the weekend. How does that work?
That's a guy who's going to come back
business
several times, maybe.
It's an insane fucking statement to make.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, I don't know what he had against me. So you had no beef. This guy out of the blue decided to try and kill you.
Yeah, you know how it works.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
People are jealous.
Yeah.
Maybe he was banging one of his best girls. You know what I mean?
That's what he's supposed to do.
That's right.
Maybe Dennis had taken a shining beyond a professional relationship with one of his gals.
He respected her as a whore, but he loved her as a woman.
Right. Maybe there was some of that.
Yeah.
And he comes in there and starts waving that big black hog around, and the next thing you know,
like he owns the place.
She gets hooked.
Dennis's hog was black?
She gets good, proper. She gets hooked up proper. She can't go back. You know what they say.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, she's wearing a Clippers jersey from 2001.
Well, you may not hassle the Hoff, but once you go black, you don't go back. And Hoff was white last time I checked.
Yeah.
I like this got his people looking into it. How's that work? That's probably one of those things.
My lawyer has workers.
Yeah. It was like that scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High when he called Spugatti or whatever his name was. That probably, when Rat was like at the German restaurant and he called Damone.
Yeah.
And he's like, did I leave my wallet anywhere? And he's like, hold on, let me check. And he just leans back. Nope, it's not here. I bet his representation, I bet his
One sec.
yeah, hold on, let us check that brothel out.
For murderous chemicals.
No, it's not nothing. We did a thorough check,
White
crazy
glove.
person. Yeah. All right, let's bring it home.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
I'm the biggest blowhard in the room.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.